They told you you're just human, a body with a job, bills, and a few vacations if you're lucky. But what if that's the biggest lie you've ever swallowed? What if you've been living way below your potential, not because you're weak, but because you've been programmed to forget who you really are? This isn't some motivational fluff. This is a wake-up call. You're not here to survive, you're here to create. And the moment you remember that, your entire life starts to shift. If you've ever felt like something deep inside, you were screaming for more meaning, more power, more clarity, this is why. You were never just a man with goals, you're a force with intention, and right now you're being invited to stop living like a victim of life and start embodying the divine identity that's been buried under routines and rules. You don't need to be fixed, you need to remember. And once you do, you'll realize you're not here to follow the rules of this world, you're here to rewrite them. Ready? 1. You were never just a body. Most people wake up and instantly identify with the body they see in the mirror. Wrinkles, weight, hair, age, those things seem to define who they are. But what if none of that is actually you? The body is a vehicle, a temporary form, not the driver. You've probably felt it before, in moments of deep silence or crisis. You're watching from behind your own thoughts. That awareness isn't physical. That's the hint, that's the crack in the illusion showing that your real identity goes way beyond flesh and bones. Now think about it. If someone loses a leg, an arm, or even their memory, are they still themselves? Of course, because your value isn't in your parts. It's in your presence. The body changes, the face changes, even the mind shifts with time and experience. But there's something in you that watches all of it without changing. That's your divine identity trying to remind you who you really are. And most people spend their lives ignoring that subtle whisper because they're hypnotized by the mirror. Try this. Sit down in silence for 10 minutes and watch your thoughts like clouds in the sky. Don't chase any of them, just observe. What you'll notice is that you're not your thoughts, you're the observer behind them. This simple act breaks the spell of subconscious programming that keeps you thinking you're just John who works at the office, or Paul who needs to lose weight. You're not your story, you're not your job, you're not your trauma, you're the awareness witnessing it all untouched. And if you're not the body, then what are you here to do through the body? That question opens a door. It leads to something far greater than a 9-to-5 life or a list of responsibilities. There's a reason the mystics always spoke of conscious creation. If you're not human, you're not here just to survive. You're here to realize and embody a force most people have forgotten entirely. 2. The programming that made you forget. From the moment you were born, your mind started recording everything. Your parents' words, society's rules, the fears of others. Slowly, layer by layer, those messages buried your divine identity under mountains of limitation. You can't do that. That's not realistic. Be normal. Nana. These phrases weren't just suggestions. They became the script for your subconscious programming. And when the script runs deep enough, you don't even question it. You mistake the cage for comfort. Think about how school trains you. Sit still, don't question authority, memorize and repeat. They don't teach you to awaken, they teach you to obey. And once that program is installed, it follows you into adulthood. You doubt your intuition, suppress your desires, and follow the crowd because that's what good people do. But here's the twist. None of that is you. It's just the noise layered on top of your truth. It's the software running in the background, hijacking your ability to live like a god. Want to break that cycle? Start with awareness. Take 5 minutes every morning and write down 3 thoughts or beliefs you carry that feel heavy or limiting. Then ask yourself, who gave me this? Is this even mine? Most of the time you'll realize it came from someone else's fear, not your truth. That's how conscious creation starts, not by forcing your life to change overnight, but by reclaiming your mind inch by inch. Every false belief you dismantle makes room for something real to emerge. This isn't about blame, it's about awakening. Nobody's faulted for being programmed, but once you see the pattern, the responsibility becomes yours. And here's where it gets interesting. When you stop following the program, life doesn't collapse. It expands. That expansion, that sudden clarity, freedom, and power. That's what happens when your spiritual awakening begins to burn through the fog. 3. God is not a figure, it's a state of being. Most people grew up picturing God as some distant figure in the sky, bearded, judgmental, watching every move like a cosmic referee. But that's not God. That's a projection. The real essence of God isn't a character, it's a state of consciousness. It's the presence that sees without judging, creates without needing permission, and exists without beginning or end. And the wild part? That state exists within you, not metaphorically, literally. The divine identity isn't something you pray to, it's something you awaken into. You've felt it before, even if you didn't call it that. That moment you looked at the stars and felt infinite. That second you forgave someone and felt peace rush through your chest. That time when your intuition screamed yes and you trusted it, even when logic said no. Those are God moments. Not religious ones, real ones. Because God isn't found in a book. It's found in being, in awareness, in action, in how you choose to show up to this present moment. Living like a God isn't about having power over others. It's about remembering the power within yourself. It's the ability to create, to choose, to respond instead of react. It's about holding your ground when fear wants to make you shrink. If you want to practice this, start simple. Choose one situation today where you normally act small, maybe at work or in a relationship, and respond from presence instead of programming. Speak your truth, stand in clarity. That's divine energy in motion. And if God is a state, then heaven isn't a place you go after death. It's a frequency you tap into while alive. But this truth shakes the foundations of everything you were taught, which is why most people run from it. Because if you are the creator, then you can no longer blame the creation. And that, my friend, leads us right into the next layer of this awakening. 4. You're creating reality, whether you know it or not. Most people think life just happens to them, that they're victims of luck, randomness, or the will of others. But here's the truth. Your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs are constantly shaping what you experience. Whether you're aware of it or not, you're always in the act of conscious creation or unconscious reaction. That uncomfortable situation at work, that repeating pattern in your relationships, they're not accidents, they're mirrors. And those mirrors are showing you what's inside your own mind. This isn't some fluffy spiritual idea. It's practical, observable truth. If someone wakes up expecting rejection, they'll unconsciously act in ways that invite it. If they believe they're not worthy of success, they'll self-sabotage opportunities without even realizing it. That's subconscious programming in action. And because most of it runs beneath the surface, it can feel like life is out of your control. But once you start bringing awareness to your thoughts and emotional patterns, the illusion begins to crack. Start small. Observe how your mood affects your day. Notice how people respond to you when you're frustrated versus when you're calm. You'll see it, clear as day. You are not a passive participant in this game. You're influencing reality every time you think, feel, decide, or imagine. One powerful tool is visualization, but not in a forced way. Imagine yourself already embodying the outcome you want, not just having it. This puts your energy in alignment with the version of you who already lives that life. And here's the kicker. Your reality isn't shaped by what you want. It's shaped by who you are being. You could want freedom, but if you're living in fear, you'll attract more limitation. That's why spiritual awakening isn't about getting something, it's about becoming someone. Someone aligned with their divine identity. Someone who understands that they're not here to react to the world. They're here to rewrite it from within. 5. The power of intention over circumstance. Most people let circumstances dictate their state of being. If the day is smooth, they're happy. If something goes wrong, they collapse. But when you start living with intention, everything shifts. Intention is more than a goal. It's a declaration of who you choose to be, regardless of what's happening around you. That's the secret to stepping into your divine identity. You stop reacting and start directing. Life becomes less about control and more about conscious creation from within. Think of intention like a spiritual GPS. Without it, you drift, react, and repeat the same patterns. With it, even chaos becomes a tool. Say you're stuck in traffic. Without intention, you're frustrated, late, angry. With intention, you might use that time to listen to an audiobook, reflect in silence, or realign with your goals. Same situation, completely different experience. Intention doesn't change the outer world first. It changes you. And that shift changes everything you touch. Want to put this into practice? Start every morning by stating your intention out loud. Not what you want to do, but who you want to be. Today, I choose to be calm. I choose to trust. I choose to act with clarity. This sounds simple, but it rewires your subconscious programming over time. It builds spiritual awakening into your day by giving your mind a direction. And when the storms come, as they always do, you'll already be grounded. You'll respond with power instead of panic. When you live by intention, you're not just going through life. You're shaping it. You're choosing meaning over noise, direction over distraction. And this ability to align with intention is what lets you reclaim your divine authority. Because it's not about having the perfect conditions. It's about being the version of you that no condition can shake. And once you taste that kind of alignment, you'll never see daily life the same way again. 6. Claiming your divine authority in daily life. Divine authority isn't loud. It doesn't need to scream, demand, or prove anything. It moves with quiet certainty. It shows up in how you speak, how you carry yourself, how you decide without needing validation. Most people give their power away 100 times a day, agreeing when they don't mean it, apologizing for their truth, staying silent when their soul is screaming. But your divine identity is still there, underneath all that noise, waiting for you to choose it over approval. You claim your authority by becoming the source, not the seeker. Instead of begging for love, you give it. Instead of needing permission to lead, you stand in your knowing. This doesn't mean being arrogant, it means being rooted. A man in his power doesn't push, he radiates. You'll know you're accessing divine authority when people start responding to your energy differently. They feel your clarity, they sense your presence, they stop questioning you, not because you dominate, but because you no longer question yourself. Want to start living this out? Practice saying no without guilt, set boundaries without drama. Speak your truth even if your voice shakes. These are not small things, they are sacred acts, because every time you choose yourself, you're sending a message to your subconscious programming: we don't shrink anymore. That message, repeated consistently, creates a shift that no external event can override. That's conscious creation in its rawest form, claiming your energy as the compass of your life. And here's where it gets exciting. Once you begin to live like that, grounded, clear, unapologetic, you start noticing the limits around you weren't even real. You stop trying to fit in boxes that were never meant for you. And this naturally leads you to the next level of truth. If your limits were imagined, then what else have you been believing that isn't actually true? 7. Living beyond limits as the true creator. Every limit you've accepted was taught, not born. You can't do that. You're too old. That's not for people like you. These ideas are passed down like family recipes, but instead of feeding your soul, they starve it. Living beyond limits starts by realizing those walls around you were built with words, beliefs, and repeated emotional reactions. And just like they were created, they can be dismantled. Your divine identity wasn't designed for confinement. It was meant for expansion, for movement, for mastery. True creators don't wait for permission to dream. They move as if the vision is already alive. And they don't ignore reality. They just refuse to be ruled by it. This is the heart of spiritual awakening, seeing that the outer world is a canvas, not a cage. When you align with conscious creation, you begin to rewrite what's possible. You stop saying, "Can I?" and start saying, "I am." That shift may sound subtle, but it changes the entire frequency of your life. One lives in doubt, the other in power. Here's a powerful way to live this. Challenge one belief every week. If you think you're bad with money, read a book like The Richest Man in Babylon. If you think your body can't heal, start researching people who've reversed chronic conditions with lifestyle changes. The goal isn't to argue, it's to investigate, to poke holes in the story until it can't hold you anymore. Because once your mind is free, your reality will follow. That's the real magic. Not tricks, transformation. Living beyond limits doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means fear no longer decides your life. You acknowledge it, breathe through it, and act anyway. And the more you act from your truth, the more evidence you build that you are, and have always been, the true creator. This isn't philosophy, it's identity. And now that you've remembered who you are, the only question left is, what will you create next? If you want to elevate your vibrations and manifest with more ease, I have prepared something special for you. Click the link in the first pinned comment and join us in the journey of awakening your inner mage.